Hello internet, how's it going? You may hear my PC. I need to put this fucking thing on the floor because again I gotta get some of the fucking dust out of it because it's really kind of making the heat noise and shit. So yeah, I'm mostly using the music to block that shit out. It works for the most part, but again you can still hear it if you really listen for it. But let's get off of that shit and talk about some actual news. So let's jump right into this. Starting out with our first news story, we have Spider-Man star Tom Holland would like to play Batman or James Bond. Honestly, give or take with what's going on, like with the whole Spider-Man Homecoming thing, well, and also his really good debut from Captain America: Civil War, he's actually he is the quintessential high school Spider-Man. So again, you know, he's not a terrible actor. Now, they do kind of make some tiny quips of him saying that he wants to be James Bond or he wants to be in a James Bond movie. The same thing of people asking him, it's like, yo, like, he said, well, he was asked this like during an interview, which was what movies would you like to play next? And of course he said either James Bond or he'll do Batman. Of course, you know, he did say that would be a bit unfair because again, I believe his co-star Zendaya also said that too. She was like, that's not fair. And of course, perfect response, life isn't fair. He's also doing this other thing where that he also wants to play Nathan Drake in the upcoming Uncharted film. But here's the thing about most of these video game movies which do come out, and I kind of side with most of the people saying, yeah, a lot of them, they should be movies, but there's a problem with the fact that we already know that Hollywood does not give a fuck about any of the video game movies. I mean, the only one that even came close to being somewhat similar or being somewhat enjoyable was Mortal Kombat. I mean, you can probably throw Hitman in there. Maybe even a little bit of the goofy narration like that was in Max Payne. But other than that, it's like every other fucking movie that kind of has a video game title is a fucking joke. And I get the feeling though is that, well, actually this can be a social experiment because again, if they can't get Uncharted right, a game that has pretty normal people in it. I mean, again, it's just Indiana Jones with a different character. If you cannot get that shit right, well, then again, they couldn't get Tomb Raider right. So, you know, I mean, that's kind of where this is going. So, you know. Moving on to our next story, we have, in this case, Suicide Squad 2. And the information from that is Suicide Squad 2 should begin shooting next year, sometime in 2018. Now, this comes from the lips of Joel Kinnaman, you know, the guy who played Rick Flag in the first film, as he goes on to state, as far as I know, they're writing a script, and I think the plan is to shoot sometime in 2018, but that could change. I definitely think I'll come back for it, you know. And then, of course, he goes on to talk about who he wants to direct this film. I love for David Ayer to return, who is great with character and that's able to ground the story and maybe put these characters in a more normal situation. It would be really, really interesting to see these crazy characters interact with regular people as well. Honestly, I really didn't have too many of a problem with Suicide Squad 1. And give or take with just people complaining about the fucking CG and the fact that, well, yeah, the Enchantress is by far the strongest fucking monster or member of the Suicide Squad. You know, they really didn't do a good job of keeping her ass under wraps. Also, on top of that, for those of you out there who don't know, David Ayer will also be directing the upcoming Scarface reboot, and also, I believe he's also, I think he's also working on a Harley Quinn spinoff, and also he's working on Gotham City Sirens. So he does have a lot on his plate at this moment. So pulling him back into the film, that may be a little bit difficult. However, me getting into the whole thing of, I'm actually excited for Suicide Squad 2 because again, you know, it's DC. They're just throwing more of their shit out there. Now, in terms of how people felt about the first one, yes, the first one does kind of have its problems, but again, you know, I mean, it's cool, but again, you kind of have the whole film and shit, and it's like, people kind of just don't. I mean, the only real thing that I kind of really didn't agree with, or at least from fans anyway, is the fact that they didn't like Jared Leto's Joker. Well, get over it. He's not Heath Ledger. Get the fuck over it. But, you know, they're not doing that shit. And also, yeah, the Joker loves Harley in this one. So the fuck what? He say like in my thing, he's always abusive. So the fuck what? All right. If they can change up Batman's and James Bond's in every fucking like movie or every so many years, like, who gives a shit? I mean, hey man, like, you know, Heath Ledger did a psychotic one. Fucking what the hell, Mr. Jackman? No, Jack Nicholson did a more cartoony one and shit. You know, man, like with him being murderous but then being cartoony. And I believe back like in the Adam West days, he was just a quirky character, man, like who just liked to do jokey shit. So again, get over the goddamn character. But let's move on to our final story. Well, moving on to actual gaming news. Well, Odin Sphere developers 13 Sentinels is coming to the West. In this case, the game that is made by Vanillaware. You know, their game is called 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, and it is coming over here. It seems to take a lot of what Odin Sphere is and just kind of just switches up the theme of it and kind of turns it into a very different game, or at least that's just from the trailer from what I'm seeing. As basically the trailer is just, you know, you got a guy in high school and a girl in high school. They're walking to the left and they do show necks and everything. So it does seem to kind of go with that, or at least the story is, you got the high school type of theme with high schoolers who get in giant robots and beat up other giant robots or aliens or pretty much whatever. But since this is Vanillaware, they do have a beautiful art style. Everything kind of looks pristine, and honestly, everything looks like it's fresh out of an art book. You know, I will say though that a lot of Odin Sphere did kind of have that kind of art style. Now, it's too early to speak on combat, and it's a little bit too early to speak on like what the game is going to be. But honestly, it is an RPG. It does seem to be that this game is actually going to, I don't know, it's gonna be long and possibly very action heavy. But again, at the same time though, I don't know if this game is gonna come out for E3 though. Hard to say, but it is. I mean, it's gonna come out around E3 because they didn't drop a release date. But if you are interested, give it a look. I'll post everything down there in the description. Tell me what you think about this down in the comment section. I'll catch you on the next John Graham Show. Keep watching anime, keep playing video games. I'm out.